Hello guys, I'm Super Ron, welcome back to the channel and we're back at Auto Shack with our brand new project. We've got this 1998 Mk3 GTI colour concept and we've got this in for our favourite conversion, the best bang for buck you can get, the 1.8 turbo from an Audi TT. The colour concept GTI is quite a rare car. There was only 1,000 made in each colour, but nearly 30 years later there is not that many left. So it's a bit of an honour to have this one in and it's going to be a cool car to work on. As you can see, it's already got a few mods. It's got the Porsche wheels with adapters, it's on coilovers, it's got a big brake conversion, got an exhaust system, so all the foundations are set for a great engine conversion. All the upgrades are already done, now we can concentrate on the power. Because all these colour concepts were the 2 litre 8 valve 115 horsepower engine. Not a bad engine, back in the day, nice and reliable, but not really that quick. As you've seen on the channel before, the best performance to pound upgrade you can do in these is a 1.8 turbo. And the advice we give to all our customers is always buy a donut, because you don't know an engine on a pallet, there is a reason why it's been taken out. At least with a full car, you know it's running, working, and you've got history with it as well. So we have a complete 2001 Audi TT Quattro Cabriolet as a parts car. This is actually still on the road, still got MOT, so we've given it a little drive around. We've done a full vehicle scan on it and everything came up perfect. As you can hear, it is running absolutely perfect. Not an option we would have known if we'd have just bought one on a pallet. All we're going to be using from the TT is the 1.8 turbo engine. This is the BAM edition, so it's 225 horsepower, so it's going to be very lively in the Mk3. We're not going to be using the 6-speed gearbox or the Quattro system, because unfortunately they won't work in the Mk3 without a lot of work. We'll be getting a 5-speed O2A gearbox out of a Mk3, but we've got everything here we need. We'll be able to utilise all the boost pipes, the water pipe, we've got the full loom, the ECU, and that can all go in our Mk3. So we don't often see the full TT, so it's quite cool seeing what their engine bays are like. So like I said, this is the BAM engine code, 225 horsepower out of the factory, so we may have a little bit more running with a few mods with an air filter, an exhaust system, upgraded intercooler, but it does look kind of cool with all the covers, how well they fit in the TT. It's going to be a shame to break this one, but all in a good cause. And then unfortunately, all that will be due for the rest of this is going for scrap. We'll take off some of the cool bits, but mostly this will be just a parts car. Doing a Mk3 20 valve conversion is a lot easier than doing the Mk1. The Mk1s were never equipped with a big block engine, so you have to use engine mount conversions. We used all Epitech bits for this. Lots of bits and pieces that just don't fit from the TT. Whereas on a Mk3, with the 2 litre 8 valve, that is essentially the same block as the 1.8 turbo. So it'll bolt straight in on the mount. We can just unbolt the mount off the back of this 2 litre 8 valve, and that'll go straight on to the Audi TT 1.8 turbo. Gearbox wise, if this was a Mk3 GTI 16 valve, we would have everything that we need. Because this is an 8 valve, unfortunately it hasn't got the gearbox we need. In theory, the 1.8 turbo will bolt up to this O2O gearbox, but it is quite a weak point on these and it won't last very long. It's also cable clutch and rod shift. Again, not the nicest gearbox. It would work on a budget. If this was a Mk3 16 valve, it would have the O2A gearbox. It would have the hydraulic clutch, it would have the cable shifters, everything that we need. Which means if we do get a 16 valve gearbox, it will all go straight in. So as you can see, we've got a cable clutch at the front there, and then just like an older Mark II, we've got a rod shift gearbox. But because the Mk3 shell is ready for cable change and hydraulic clutch, I don't know if we'll just see down the back, there is a little plate there because the shell is ready for a hydraulic clutch conversion. So unlike the Mk1, where we had to convert the column and everything else, if we just get a Mk3 hydraulic clutch master cylinder, that'll go straight in. We've even got the takeoff for the fluid there, all ready to go. Inside on the pedal box and under here, because the Mk3 is all ready for hydraulic clutch, you see where those nuts are there, that is just a blanking plate. The hydraulic clutch will bolt straight into there. It's got the little bit on the pedal for it to go in. It's also got holes for the clutch switch, so that can wire into the BAM ECU. And on the brake switch, there's an additional hole there for the ECU brake switch. So all we've got to worry about in here is just the electronic throttle pedal, which aren't too bad to do. Also on the gearbox, we've got electronic speedo, and that'll tie in with all the ABS, so everything should carry on working. As you can see, this bay is a little bit on the grotty side, so before we take all this out, I think it'll be a good idea to give this a clean. So we'll go from this to this. Much better. As you can hear, it runs absolutely sweet. Bodywork is in great condition. That's cleaned up well. So it runs perfect. We're just going to double the horsepower by sacrificing this. Right, see underneath all stripped down, got drive shafts off. We took the subframe and steering rack off because we've got our transfer box on the back and the prop shaft. You can't drop it down with the subframe in. So now we're all nice and clear and we can drop this out the bottom. Let's finish off the wiring at the top. And top wise, we are all stripped down. I've got all the ECU loom and the ECU out from the scuttle. Got all the plugs off. That was all Tiger sealed in there, so they must have had a leak before around this. That made it a bit tricky to get out, but there are all our plugs intact. Unplugged everything down here, folded it all in. Heater matrix off, water pipes off. Got the electronic coolant pump off. All these are folded in ready. So I think we are all set to drop it out the bottom. The only one I couldn't get to was the aircon pipes down there. The bolts were just rounded off Allen keys, so I've chopped them, but we're not using the aircon anyway. Everything else is ready to go. So let's get in with the engine crane. And drop it out. Alright, if we take the slack and drop it on the engine mounts. It's down. Looking good. And there we are, all out. Not too bad. And here it is, quite a lump, but there's a lot of this we're not going to be using. We're not going to be using the massive 6-speed gearbox, and also we've got the 4-wheel drive transfer box, so all of this will be going. You can see, because this is the BAM, it's got the KO4 turbo, which is a lot better suited for an engine conversion because the exhaust comes out sideways like that. Whereas on the Caddy, the exhaust came out backwards here, straight into the steering rack. So you can get a much nicer exhaust and everything clears a lot better. We'll do the timing belt and water pump. We'll be keeping the power steering on this one, so we're going to make the hybrid between the Mk3 and the TT. We'll be getting rid of the aircon because the Mk3 hasn't got aircon. So now what I'm going to do is strip the 6-speed box off, get all that out of the way, chuck that back in the car. You can fit these in the Mk3, but then you have to get the blanking plate because you can't use the 4-wheel drive, and also you need custom drive shafts as well, so it all starts getting a bit expensive for not a lot of gain. So let's strip down some of this. I did notice on the back here, on the exhaust gas temperature sensor, there is a lot of oil down the bottom there. Also a lot of oil there. So I think we've either got a rocker cover leak or a cam seal, so we'll have a look in them. But we'll fix all these leaks before we put it in the Mk3. And all removed. So now all we've got is what we want to keep. We've got rid of the big 6-speed gearbox, took off the transfer box to get it off. So we've got that. We've got the dual mass flywheel, so we won't be needing that. We've got the TT top mounts, won't be using them. Starter motor, aircon, front mount. I don't think we can use the downpipe, but we might be able to use part of it. And then took the aircon pump off the front, took the front engine mount off, so we're all ready to go. In the Mk3, it's going to mount on the back here, and the mount will come back. So we won't have anything on the end like the Mk1s. Certainly got a lot of oil leaks at the top we've got to track down, but now it's up on the stand, I can take all the loom off and investigate. We'll get it all smartened up, all cleaned up, and we'll thank the TT for its service. And the bay is looking very bare. So you can see where all our connections go to. This is where it talks to the rest of the car. So when you see me playing with the coloured plugs in conversions, that's where they sit in the factory. And the other plug where we get all our connections from is this one, which sits down in there. So sometimes I do cut these off to make a nice neat conversion. So I might still do that to make a nice join. I'll be taking some of these out because we need the blue one for the throttle pedal and the black one is for the clutch and the brake switch. So we'll get all them connected up. But this poor old thing has done its job. And I've just got bits out of the interior. So I've got the drive-by-wire throttle pedal, and I've got the loom that then plugs into our main loom. I've got the brake switch and the clutch switch, which we can put into the Mk3 pedal box. Plus, hopefully, these rubber pedals will go over, so then all three pedals will match. Also got the footrest, not sure whether that will go in. I've also cut out the other side of the plugs of our main loom, so we can make a nice little conversion for the main plugs at the top, plus our 14-pin plug, plus our start and charge loom. And I've also got the OBD port out, got our ECU ready to go away to Vagtronics to be demobilised. And I've also took the clutch master cylinder out. Not sure whether this is going to fit in the Mk3, but at least we'll have everything, all the clips, the fittings, everything we need if we buy a new one of these. And we'll see if we can modify the lines to go in. So we should have everything out now we need. So all the stuff that's left in the car is just TT stuff and the box. I'm also keeping hold of all this bits at the moment. We've got all our power steering lines, our coolant lines, our boost pipes, our exhaust manifold, because we may be able to modify some of these to work in the Mk3. So I'm not going to chuck these away just yet. It's always handy to have stuff that is exactly the right size to come off the thermostat housings. We've got the correct banjos to come off the power steering, so we may need these. We've got the servo pipe. So I'll just keep all of these until we're all set up in the bay. Right, I think we've got just about as much as we need off the TT. But as extreme as this does seem, considering how little we do actually use off the TT, in my opinion, this is still the best way to get a donor engine. We've run it, we've driven it, we know the history of it, we've code read it. There's no smoke, there's no rattles. We can guarantee that this is a perfect engine. Whereas if you just buy one offline on a pallet, there is no guarantees on that. And unfortunately, not everyone is as honest as us. Also, if you want to go down the route of breaking the car, you can almost cover your cost of the car and then you'll have the engine for free. I've just wrapped the BAM ECU up to send to Vagtronics, so they're going to demobilise that for us. We've got a gearbox and another couple of bits coming in from VW Chop Shop. So we should be all set for the next episode to get the Mk3 in and start stripping that down. So I hope you've enjoyed this episode. Make sure you give it a like. It isn't going to be as extreme as some of our other ones. It's not going to be a show car. It's just going to be a good, reliable, usable engine bay. Like we saw earlier, because the Mk3 has already got a 2-litre 8-valve in, a lot of the pipe works, the rads, and other bits and pieces are all going to fit together nicely. The wiring isn't going to be as hard as some of our older cars we convert, because it's already a fuel-injected car. So I'll be sure to do an episode, of course, on all the wiring, integrating all the TT plugs into the Mk3 plugs. But for this episode, it's time to say goodbye to the TT. So make sure you join us for the next episode. But until then, make sure you have fun.